Thank you. I should scold myself. That was my next comment here. This is the April 4th business meeting of the Arkansas State Highway Commission. I'm Alec Farmer, Chairman of the Commission. I appreciate everybody here in the audience and those viewing at home through our streaming service. Before we start the meeting, I wanted to remind everybody that speaks today to make sure your microphone is on and in front of you so we can all hear what's being said, and the people live streaming can also hear us better. And then also, as we've been doing since COVID, would entertain a motion that we use electronic signatures for the signing of the minute orders. Got a motion? Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We will continue on with that. Okay, I guess now we're ready to go over the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. That was in February. Has everybody had a chance to review those? And if so, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, we'll move on to the reading of the minute orders. If you have any questions or comments, please identify yourself and we'll get those answered. With that, I'll ask Dave Parker, our Public Information Officer, to read the minute orders. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Minute Order 1 approves the actions of the Purchasing Committee awards.
Is this the one about the mowing and trimming, and
Yes, sir.
how do you come up with, like, I don't know, pick up litter, it's $15 per acre. Okay, nobody knows.
Commissioner Hake.
All right.
Commissioner Hake, that's the bid by the contractor to submit. They submit $15 an acre to pick up litter, and they submit whatever, $25 to $40 an acre, whatever it is, to mow.
Well, I mean, yeah, because it ranges from $47.30 an acre to $15.
A lot of that is dependent on the terrain, the amount of the traffic volume. Like if it's in an interchange, there'll be a lot more trash than there is just an area driving down the road. So it depends on, they'll go out and look at it and determine what it would cost them to do that.
Okay, there was just wild
Yeah.
swings. And same thing on mowing.
Yes, sir. That's the terrain.
Okay.
If it's mowing down the interstate versus the mountains, where it's really a lot of rocks and a lot of places.
So in other words, if I wanted to bid to mow right away of interstate, I'm in Miller County, it's flat. I can't bid like $47.30. I got to bid more like $15.
It is
Okay.
relative. It
Okay.
is very
Never
relative.
mind. Taking advantage of me. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Minute Order 2, authorization to apply to AASHTO, the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, for designation of the U.S. Bicycle Route USBR 51 from the Missouri state line to Alma. Minute Order 3, this minute order requests approval to request proposals to select consulting firms and, if needed, enter agreements with firms for on-call traffic data collection services as deemed necessary. Yes, sir.
Our annual, I just want to know, because the expenditures apparently for 2020 through 2023 is about $1,263,000 a year, and we're saying it's going to go up to oh shoot, what does it say?
1.7 million, I believe.
1.7 million. Is that quite a bit?
So
500,000. That's a pretty big increase percentage, isn't it?
it is. So that's the top end. We want to make sure we have room there in case we do more counts in a given year. So we try to be a little more conservative with that number.
Okay, because you had volume counts, you had 9,300 stations. We're dropping that to 9,000. Okay, classification counts you're going up on. And, okay. But I mean, I just thought that's what is that, about a third increase?
So are you looking at that backup sheet there?
Yeah, right
Yes,
here.
yes, sir.
That
So
one.
we're expecting, costs have escalated since we also, with inflation, since we went out last time. So we expect to see 25-30% increase because of that as well.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. That's just what I want to know.
Minute order 4. This minute order simply declares a tract of land as surplus. This is in Independence County. Minute order 5 out of District 4, Sebastian County. This minute order calls for naming the Highway 10 bypass within the city limits of Greenwood as the Trey Burgess Memorial Highway. Minute order 6 out of Pulaski County, District 6, authorization to name a portion of Highway 67 within the city limits of Jacksonville and Sherwood as the Distinguished Flying Cross Memorial Highway. And the final minute order today deals with NEVI, the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program.
Yes, and I understand we've got a presentation today as part of the program later, so we're going to hold that one until after the presentation's made by the staff, if that's okay with everybody.
That is it, sir.
All right, thank you, Dave. Next up, we'll hear our Chief Financial Officer, Patrick Patton, come forward and present the good news on financial report. Hopefully good news.
Good morning. We got some mixed news, but
Yeah.
news. The first slide is the budgeted versus actual expenses by the budget categories, and it's February through February. You'll see all the budgets are all the expenses are under budget right now, including the operations, chief engineer operations. We've got some budget credits to give to the districts, and so when we do those budget credits, we'll actually be 6.4 million under budget for that category also. The next slide just breaks out the numbers a little differently into the maintenance and operations and admin and budgeted construction categories. If you look across that, all of them are under budget by 16.1 million overall. Just as an aside, we are working on our budget for state fiscal year 2025. We're starting that, starting to work on revenue projections. The budget requests are going to go out to the divisions and districts in the next week or so. And so at our next commission meeting, which is in June, we'll be bringing the budget for fiscal year 2025 to you for approval. Moving on to actual revenue year over year. Everything's looking good, flat. Motor fuel's up $6 million. Once again, natural gas severance tax is way below actual year over year. As you'll see when we get to the budget, we're under there also. If you were to take all of natural gas just out of the picture, we'd be approximately 5 million over budget for revenues for year over year. If you look at the budget versus actual revenue, once again, motor fuel's up, Amendment 101 is down a little bit, and then natural gas severance once again is down $25 million versus what we budgeted. Once again, if you were to take that out altogether, it's not even a source, we'd be pretty much right on target on budget. If you look at Act 416 revenues, they're flat, 1.1 million up on motor fuel, a little bit up on the electric hybrid fees, and 1.5 million overall. Once again, when we meet after the end of the fiscal year, we'll see a $35 million, or should see a $35 million casino tax deposit at the end of the fiscal year, June 30. Yes.
On the natural gas severance tax, couple of questions. Maybe explain to us what's going on there, why the tax this year, fiscal year is somewhat, what's the cause of that? And second of all, did we apparently we didn't see that coming because we budgeted.
The first one, I'm going to pause on answering it. We've got a meeting with DFNA and the counties and others to discuss more at the end of, I guess, April 25th. There is concern, of what is causing it. I'm not, the best guess I could come up with is when you look at natural gas prices year over year or trends of them, it's about a year ago, or I think it was around $7 BTU. Now it's like 1 or 2.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's going to be one of the contributors. I don't know how much is being produced out of the wells. That could counteract if you had more coming out at a lower price. You're going to balance some of that out. But there is a big group of people. Gil and I'll be representing RDOT the 25th to talk through some of the
Okay.
concerns with that, and I'll make sure in June I'll pass on.
Great.
The second part of your question on the budgeting, it dipped a lot more than we thought. We actually gave it a 25% haircut from previous year that we had
Yeah.
received. Really, it should have been a 75% haircut or more. So there really wasn't enough time to see this coming. It went from 10 or 12 million a month down to 1 pretty quick.
Yeah.
So that's, I know you hadn't heard me say it this year much, but had always cautioned the high side of the natural gas in the past years that we were, above our projections, and just being cautious that this might happen. So,
Okay. Thank you.
but I'll put it on my radar for June to
Yeah. Be interested
to
know
come
it.
back. The second slide of the budgeted versus actual revenue for Act 416 is flat. It's 1.5 million above budgeted. If you look at fuel consumption, gasoline's pretty strong over last year at this time. 26.5 million gallons above last year through February. Diesel's 3.7. Overall, 30.2 million gallons consumed over last year. And then the last slide, if you look at the rolling 12-month comparison of gas, diesel, and alternative fuels, it's up 2.6 million or 2.6% over the previous 12 months, or 58.2 million gallons.
Yeah, I just had one comment here. I'm just looking at the 24 budgeted versus actual expenses. We're down 13%, and our revenues were down about 5.5%. So we're staying on top of that
Yes, sir.
downturn in the revenues with keeping our expenses down.
Yes, sir. And when, just first blush at numbers for revenue projections, obviously, we're going to be cautious with natural gas going forward. And so you'll see some different, probably lower projected revenue numbers for next year to be more conservative, take into account the natural gas. It looks like motor fuel is going to be up about 3 or 4% for projected, but the rest of it's probably going to be flat.
Anything else?
No.
Thank you for the report, Patrick.
Thank you.
Now for the remainder of the meeting, we'll let Director Glory Tudor run things.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Next up, we have Kevin Thornton, our Chief of Administration, to give you an update on federal and state legislative activities.
Thank you, Director Tudor. I have good news. I am pleased to report to you that the Congress and the President have agreed to an appropriation or spending bill for the rest of the federal fiscal year 2024. This will provide funding until September 30th, which is the end of the federal year. The funding provided fully funds all formula and discretionary grant programs in the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, more commonly referred to as the IIJA. There is also a new bridge discretionary grant program that has specific requirements for the $250 million that will be available in 2024. As with any new federal program, it will take the time before the U.S. Department of Transportation can develop the guidance that controls which projects are eligible to receive this funding. We will keep a close eye on this to be sure that we take full advantage of all funding opportunities for the citizens of the state. And there is even more good news for Arkansas in this appropriations bill. It also provides additional funding for 6 projects. These are the community project funding. Members of Arkansas's congressional delegation, including Senator John Bozeman, along with Representatives Rick Crawford, Bruce Westerman, and Steve Womack, requested the additional funding. This funding is stipulated for the following projects: $67 million for Interstate 49 between Barling and Alma, requested by Senator Bozeman. $6 million for construction of the future Interstate 57 from Walnut Ridge to the Missouri state line, requested by Senator Bozeman and Representative Crawford. $5 million for the Highway 10 Greenwood bypass, requested by Representative Womack. $5 million for Highway 82 corridor improvements in Ashley, Chico, Columbia, and Union counties. This was requested by Senator Bozeman and Representative Westerman. And there were 2 projects on the Highway 412 corridor. $5 million for improvements to the interchange of Highway 412 and Interstate 49, requested by Senator Bozeman and Representative Womack, and $3 million for improvements to the Highway 412 corridor in northern Arkansas. And this was requested by Senator Bozeman and Representative Crawford. This totals $91 million in 2024. When you combine the $91 million awarded in 2024 with the previously awarded amounts in 2022 and 2023, Arkansas has received nearly $200 million in additional funding. We are grateful for members of the Arkansas Congressional Delegation that have worked so hard to provide this funding for these important projects. Now I'd like to turn your attention from the federal level.
Kevin?
Yes,
I
sir.
had just one clarification here. We've got Future 57, and then you also have the US 67 corridor. The US 67 corridor money is that stretch going through Jacksonville. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. It's on the same route but different locations.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Now I'd like to turn your attention from the federal level to the state level. The 2024 fiscal session for the 94th General Assembly is scheduled to begin before your next meeting. In fact, it is scheduled to begin on April the 10th. Earlier this week, our state fiscal year 2025 appropriations bill was filed by the Joint Budget Committee. No changes have been made to our previously submitted appropriations requests, so therefore we're not expecting any issues to arise from this bill. We will keep you informed of any significant events during the session as they occur. The fiscal session is anticipated to last up to 30 days, which would be until the 1st of May. Director Tudor, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Kevin. Is there any questions?
Kevin, I think we got some representatives from our congressional staff here. Could we recognize them since they've got played a significant role in helping us get some of these funds?
Yes, I haven't, I apologize, I haven't noticed.
They can introduce themselves, I guess.
Yes, if you would, please stand.
This is unexpected, but my name is Jimmy Harrison, and I work here in Little Rock for Senator Bozeman. And so,
Would you send our appreciation to Senator Bozeman for the work he's done in acquiring these funds for us? We really appreciate all the work the staff's done too. I know the staff does a lot of the work, so
sure, of
Thank
course, we're going to work to get more.
thank you.
Like to hear that. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, now Crystal Woods, Assistant Chief of Administration, will give you an update on the efficiency review implementation.
Good morning. I'll give a brief update on our continuing efforts to implement the 13 recommendations from the Arkansas Legislative Council's efficiency study of the department. I'll be sharing 2 of the most noteworthy examples of the progress we reported to the Highway Commission Review and Advisory Subcommittee for the months of February, March, and April. Recommendation number 1 under the organizational structure category said we should finalize KPIs and implement performance management. I'm happy to report the final KPI dashboard has been approved by the Oversight Committee, and it has been posted on our website. The subcommittee also worked with our communications division to develop a video explaining how to navigate the dashboard, and I'd like to show you the video now.
What is transportation performance? Transportation performance measures the quality and effectiveness of our highway system using a variety of metrics. RDOT has created a dashboard for transportation performance. It allows you to see data including how our bridges and pavements are rated in accordance with Federal Highway Administration standards, the status of construction jobs across the state, and roadway safety data. To access the dashboard, go to rdot.gov, click in the search bar, and type in transportation performance, or go to rdot.gov/performance. The 3 gauges at the top of the page show condition ratings of our bridges, interstates, and national highways. Green represents good condition, orange is fair condition, and red is poor condition. To see additional details about a particular category, hover over it. Let's take bridges, for example. By hovering over the gauge, you can see that 3% of Arkansas bridges are rated to be in poor condition, while 97% are good or fair condition. What constitutes good, fair, or poor condition? Click on a gauge to view specific details. The dashboard shows similar data for interstates and national highways. Click on the gauges to read more and view maps for each category. RDOT uses federal guidelines to determine the condition ratings. Other features of the Transportation Performance Dashboard include Arkansas roadway safety information and construction job information. The construction job information shows the number of jobs and total dollar amount awarded for construction projects. Additionally, you will be able to use the construction job status tool, where you can view details about scheduled, under construction, or completed jobs across the state. Blue is for completed, red is for under construction, and green for scheduled projects. Click on any project to see details. The Transportation Performance Dashboard will be continually updated using the most recent data available. Over time, we plan to build out this dashboard with additional metrics. Our Transportation Performance Dashboard is yet another tool to help keep you, the public, informed. We hope you find it convenient, user-friendly, and helpful. We're here for you.
Any questions about the video or the KPI dashboard?
I've got a question. Is that, I'll call it Ask RDOT deal that we put on the website in the past year? Is that part of the same deal that we've got with the legislature that folds in with this? Isn't that part of what we had to do recommendations that came from the
The
study.
efficiency. This was recommendation number 1. The Ask RDOT was recommendation number 3, I believe. 4, excuse me. So those are 2 separate recommendations.
Two separate. So
Yes,
how
sir.
is that one going? The Ask RDOT deal.
It's going very well. Here I have the latest report in front of me. We are nearing completion of that recommendation.
Do you have that later in the report?
I do not.
Are we okay? I didn't want us to get out of order on you there.
I can ask you after the meeting, that's all right.
I think I can provide a little background on that. It's going very well. We've received over 10,000 inquiries since February of 23. We're averaging over 700 contacts from the public each month. And we're continuing to develop with our staff how to best capture and report a summary of it. We're having meetings even this afternoon about that. So the next step will be to move it forward and to begin to summarize the information that's in Ask RDOT to help us to be able to respond to the things that we're seeing. So that's the next phase that we're working on with this.
How long does it take to get it from our computer screen down to the district office and get somebody out there with a shovel and some asphalt? I mean, how long does that whole process take? If they're, for instance, somebody says, hey, when are y'all going to fix these potholes over here on county or state highway so-and-so? How long does it take to communicate all that?
You know, the system itself is that when something is entered in, the districts and the divisions are using the same system. So they see it as soon as it comes into it. And then it's a matter of scheduling, prioritizing their work based on their resources and their budgets and things like that. Some of those, I'm sure, are very quickly responded to. Some of them do take a little bit longer. And you know, a smaller request, that's one thing, but if someone's requesting a long stretch of a roadway to be worked on, that obviously is a much longer process. But all of that is part of the information that we communicate back to the citizen who has contacted us to make sure they have as much information as we have about their request.
So then we get it, there's communication, and then what's the average time it takes to respond to the question?
It's a very good question. I mean, if it's something that we know about right away, it's easy. But sometimes people will call in and it might be a maintenance study or a safety review that needs to be done. Some of those can take a little bit longer to review and to take everything into account. But getting answers back, it's no more than probably a few days or a week before we're able to get them the information. Sometimes the answer is we need to look into this, and other times we know exactly what they're asking about.
Well, I'm glad that's working out because that was a big thorn in our side. People telling us years ago, not anything lately, but you know, I can't ever get anybody to call me back, blah blah blah, you know, and I'm glad that program is dealing with that issue.
And we've received positive feedback from the public about the ease of using the system, and not only that, but the communication that it affords the department as well as with the citizens. It's a much improved system.
And I'm sure, given the inclement weather we experienced this year, that we've had plenty of opportunities to test the system, hadn't we?
Additional opportunities seem to be popping up time and time again to test the system, but each time we learn from that and we incorporate what we've learned just to get better each time.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both of you.
Okay, recommendation number 12 and 13 under the people capabilities category said we should ensure that staff can develop their careers at RDOT and improve their capabilities to align with our current and future organizational needs. So as I previously reported, the final phase of our Maintenance Training Academy is to offer equipment operation training to employees by simulator. The 2024 training schedule for the simulator has been developed and is now underway. So employees are actively taking advantage of the opportunity to learn basic operator skills on backhoe, wheel loader, motor grader, dozer, and excavator in a safe and controlled environment. So at the last commission meeting, I believe it was Chairman Farmer who asked how many recommendations have been completed so far, and I wasn't able to provide a lot of detail, so I'd like to take this opportunity to do that. Overall, there are 13 recommendations, and within those 13 recommendations, there are 90 rules that were proposed by RDOT and accepted by HCRAS. As you can see on the screen, although it's a little hard to read from a distance, one of the 13 recommendations has been fully implemented, and that's recommendation number 2. And 57 of the 90 rules are now considered complete by RDOT. That's a 63% completion rate. Are there any questions?
Not this time. Appreciate you putting that information together.
Sure. Okay, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Crystal. Next, we have Jared Wiley to give you an update on grant applications.
All right, I'd like to talk to you about a couple grant programs. The first is the Bridge Improvement Program. This is a different bridge program than the new one Kevin mentioned a few moments ago. Late last year, U.S. Department of Transportation released a notice of funding opportunity for this Bridge Improvement Program. Projects must be under $100 million to be eligible for this program. They made $2.4 billion available. In response to this grant opportunity, our staff began to reach out to Mississippi DOT to talk to them about a potential joint application for the Highway 49 bridge at Helena, West Helena, that connects to Greenville. Connects across the river. The STIP does include funding for painting and some rehabilitation work for this structure, but with more funding, we will be able to extend the service life of the bridge for about 2 to 3 decades. The bridge is 63 years old. It was built in the early 60s. It's currently rated as poor due to deck condition and superstructure issues. The department has a standing agreement with Mississippi to share all costs 50-50, but we are the lead agency on those improvements. So the department is requesting your concurrence in pursuing this $43.9 million grant for this project. The next grant program I'd like to talk to you about is the MPDG, or the Multimodal Project Discretionary Grant Program. Funding was announced on March 26 for this cycle. $5.1 billion is being made available nationwide. The application period closes in early May 6th. You may recall that this is a combination of 3 large grant programs. They were combined into one single grant program to make the application process go much more efficiently and smoothly for DOTs. This grant program funds large, typically complex projects that improve the nation's larger transportation system. The department recommends pursuing funding for the project on the screen, the Interstate 49 project in Sebastian and Crawford counties. This project will construct about 14 miles of new location interstate, including a new river crossing over the Arkansas River. The current estimated construction cost for this project is about $1 billion. The project will be delivered in phases as funding becomes available. It's the staff's recommendation that we submit a grant for $150 million for this project.
Okay, you've heard, I'm sorry, Director.
I was just going to say, this is our 3rd try for this funding to put together the full funding package for I-49, that segment of I-49. And we've been working hard with the DOT staff to get this application to be as competitive as possible. So we're hoping that the 3rd time is a charm, and we'll be successful this time.
Jared, is there a limit on those applications, an amount limit?
A top end, I'm not sure if there's a limit.
Can we ask for the whole $5 billion they've got? And just finish the whole, we'll just finish the whole thing, I-49, get it over with.
We're going to try to ask for as much as we need to be competitive there to get it done.
How did we come to the number of $150 million?
So the last ask was $100 million, and we've seen inflation. We had a workshop in January with the Federal Highway Administration, a risk assessment workshop, because this is such a large project. And out of that workshop, we realized that we have seen cost escalation. And so our current construction estimate's $1 billion. So we looked at potential future available funding, and we came up with that $150 million ask.
Very good, thank you.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
if there's no other questions, I think it's staff recommendation that we approve the 2 grant applications. Do
Motion to approve staff recommendation.
I hear a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, those are approved. Thank you, Jared.
Thank you. Okay, now we have Kelly Wiley, Assistant Chief Engineer for Program Delivery. She's going to give us an update on bid lettings.
Thank you, Director Tudor. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Since your last meeting, we have had a successful bid letting in February. After having a few major projects in the last 2 lettings, the highlight of this letting is the amount of pavement preservation and bridge replacement jobs as we continue our emphasis on maintaining our existing system. As the department's 2024 pavement preservation program begins to pick up steam out in the field, it is winding down from a letting standpoint. Over the past 3 lettings, the department has awarded 64 projects totaling $330 million that will provide improvements to over 550 miles of state highways. In the February letting, we awarded 54 projects for a total of $154 million. These projects are shown here with state projects noted in purple, our county projects noted in orange, and our city projects noted in red. These projects include 23 state, 5 county, and 26 city projects. There are 124 bids submitted from 36 different contractors, and bids were received on all but 1 project. So the first project I want to discuss with you will replace 3 bridges on Highway 82 in Columbia and Union counties. In addition to replacement, these bridges will be widened to 4 lanes with a painted median in order to facilitate widening of this corridor in the future. These improvements should be completed in the next few years. Moving north into Lonoke County brings us to our next project, which will resurface Highway 381 between Highway 70 and Highway 232. This work should be completed this summer. In northwest Arkansas, this $5 million project will resurface Highway 71 between Highways 170 and 71 Business in Washington County. This work should be completed by the end of this year. And finally, the last project I will discuss brings us back to central Arkansas, and it will resurface Highways 60, 64, and 65 Business in Conway. Work on this project will be mostly done at night to reduce traffic impacts, and like most of our other pavement preservation projects, this work should be completed by the end of this year. Looking ahead, there are currently 29 projects totaling approximately $80 million in our upcoming April 10th letting, which will wrap up the majority of our pavement preservation program for this year. And this concludes my report, Director Tudor.
Thank you, Kelly. Any questions?
Not a really question. I think it's just a comment here, and something we may look at it for a future meeting possibly, is these projects take a long time from inception to bid letting and completion. And I think sometimes people don't understand everything that goes into that process, from a concept coming from a community for a project to doing some preliminary work, then going to the public hearing process, the environmental process, all the things that go into it. And all these things have to have their own time frame. I think it'd be helpful maybe for one future meeting to maybe just kind of go through the process of how an idea in a community becomes a project, so everybody can understand every hurdle that we have to go through, especially when we're widening a project. We can have an existing highway, and as long as we stay on that existing right-of-way, we're okay. But if we go widen that 1 foot beyond that right-of-way, the whole process has to start from day one. And these projects just take time to do them the right way. And I think it'd be helpful that maybe for the commission, as we hear from constituents, and just the general public, if they knew a little bit more about the overall process that goes into this, because these projects don't happen overnight. And I know a lot of times communities can argue over something for 2 or 3 years, and then when they come to a consensus, they expect us to start the next day. And it just doesn't work that way. But I appreciate the work you've done on this, and like I said, I think that might be helpful in the future for us.
Well, thank you, Chairman. And every time we hold a bid letting, to me, it just shows how much how hard our staff has worked to get it to the point to let it to contract. And the amount of work that goes into that is tremendous, and our staff does a phenomenal job. There are so many aspects to getting a project from start to completion. And the fact that every time you see one of these bid lettings and you see all those projects and you see that amount of money going out into the state, in my mind, it's something to be celebrated. It's almost a miracle that we get anything ready to go in this day and time with all the regulations and the things we have to deal with and the public. You can't make everybody happy, obviously, anytime. So it's a tightrope that we walk, and I commend the staff, and I'm very proud of the work we do. And I've gotten compliments from others that say, how are you getting all this work out?
Right.
Other state DOTs really struggle sometimes
Well, I think
getting
that-
the work out, but we seem to get it
I
out.
think some people don't appreciate all the hurdles you have to jump over or jump through, including, individual utility companies when you do a widening project and you have to work with them, the federal guidelines that you have to work through. So there's a lot that goes into these projects that I think the average person doesn't really understand, the time it takes and the other entities you have to depend on to work with to get things accomplished. So I just think that might be helpful for us in a future meeting.
Thank you for that acknowledgement. And next commission meeting, we'll take y'all through the process for a simple pavement preservation job versus a more full-on interstate we're trying to build on new location.
I kind of liken it to how a bill becomes a law. I mean, you don't have to
Yeah.
do the cartoon, but,
We could sing the ditty.
there you go.
Oh, I think they should. I think Dave could write
If
a
you
little
can add a
something.
song to it, that'd be great. Yeah.
We could come up with a little ditty, and then you could keep it in your head.
That's right.
That's how you can remember it.
Allow the chairman to sing.
You don't want that. Thank you.
Kelly, I got a really elementary question. I'm
Okay.
almost embarrassed to ask it. But on this one sheet that you had up there, it said bid letting update, and it's got state, county, and city.
Right.
What? Give me an example of a city project that's included in this. I don't understand. Is this a city street?
Yes,
that,
sir.
That are getting funds from us to, tell me how that
Yes, sir. So
happens.
in fiscal year 23, for our state aid and city aid program combined, it was about a $40 million budget. And so our city aid jobs, it's a special set-aside funding where cities can use those funds for city street overlays or resurfacing, and the same for the county, for their county roads.
And we do the work.
We bid it out.
Or
and-
bid it out.
Yes, sir.
Yes, whatever.
Yes, sir.
We have a whole state aid division that takes
Okay.
care of these projects for cities and for counties. And then we let the work, we inspect the work. And this is all based on that funding that was set aside for the counties years and years ago, and the cities through issue 1.
So, but this is over and above their 15% that they
Yes.
get turn back money that they
That's-
can use for projects like this.
It's
This is
over-
over and above that.
Yes, it's a specific program
Yeah.
for cities and counties that we administer, and it goes along with everything we do on the state highway system.
Now I know.
And how much do we spend for city projects a year on average?
So we'll budget around 20 million for city and 20 million for county, and that's of course the budget. It just depends on how the bids come in and how they choose to spend those funds each year.
And I guess all the cities probably, you have each one has to make a formal request for that?
That's correct.
Do you usually have more requests in terms of dollars, and you have dollars available?
I don't have, Director Tudor.
Yes, there is a state aid city street committee that they apply to, and that committee is the ones that select the projects, the funding for the projects, and that's passed on to us. We're not involved in the project selection. Okay, thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
And now Rex Vines, our Chief Engineer for Operations, will talk to you today about the I-30 Saline County default.
Thank you, Director. Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Would like to give you an update on the project on I-30, the widening job in Saline County. This project is part of our Connecting Arkansas program. You can see on the slide here, that program manager was Garver. They've done an outstanding job for us throughout this program. Construction inspection is Jacobs, and the contractor is Johnson Brothers Corporation. This project is stretches from approximately log mile 110 to log mile 116, and the purpose is to rebuild 3 interchanges along the I-30 corridor. Also builds 4 main lane bridges and widens I-30 to 6 lanes down to Highway 70 using Portland cement concrete pavement. Before we get into the actual job details, I thought it would be, or the director thought it would be good to go through this method of bidding just to help everyone understand, make sure we're clear. This method of bidding used on this project and many of our high profile, high volume jobs is what we refer to as A plus C. The A component is the dollar value, the bid by the contractor to construct the project. On this specific project, you see it's a little over $187 million for that. The C component is the number of days bid that the contractor believes it will take to construct the project. The C component is then converted into a dollar value. The dollar value is come up with by multiplying the number of days by the road user cost. Now, the road user cost is a calculated value derived from a formula which determines the daily cost for drivers to drive through the project under construction. In this situation, the daily road user cost is $77,000. The number of days bid on this project was 1,290. So that's where we come up with the C component here of $99,330,000. So to determine the bid award, for bid award consideration to who the lowest bidder is, we simply add these two together. And that is where we come up with the $286,669,930. That was the award, the bid award. Now, to incentivize the contractor for early completion, we actually build into these an incentive that's based on the $77,000 a day. So this one we maxed it out at 90 days is the maximum they could be paid for if they finished ahead of schedule, which would have been just under $7 million on this job if they'd been. And to encourage timely completion, we actually have a disincentive built into the project. So every day they go beyond their schedule, they are assessed a road user fee of $77,000 a day.
Rex, I just want to clarify something here.
Yes, sir.
The bid award consideration of $286,669 is what we use to compare the different bids because it has that time component in it.
That's correct.
The actual bid awarded was the $187,339.
That's correct.
So,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And Rex, before you go on, can you speak a little bit to what the process looks like for verifying the bid of days and how the department weighs that out?
Yes, ma'am. We have an estimate how many days that our construction and our teams look at, but we also use an independent construction estimator to look to make sure that the bids are valid. They go through and basically, like they would bid the project, they build the project virtually to see what the time would be and how much that they think it would cost. And we use that as a comparator to be sure we're in the right ballpark. Okay. Just moving on to the project timeline on this job. As you can see here, it was the project was let in late 2018. The work order was issued on February 7th of 2019. Johnson Brothers Corporation originally bid 1,290 days to complete the project. The original completion date would have been November 18th of 2022. And we have, through change orders, we've had some situations on the job that were unexpected that warranted additional time for the contractor. We have awarded 155 additional days on the contract due to these changes. And so that extended the estimated completion date to April 20th of 2023. And so their contract time expired on April 20th of last year. Since that time, we have been assessing their daily road user cost of $77,000 a day plus a liquidated damages fee of $750 a day. The liquidated damages is a recovery of our staff cost for being at overtime for additional days, and so that's also assessed to that. They are currently operating under a recovery schedule that we have reviewed that changes the estimated completion date to December 13th of this year.
You may speak on this a little bit later, but had the current completion date is December this year, right?
Yes, sir.
So if we had to replace them, there'd be a large window there that we couldn't do any work for
That's
up
correct.
to 90 days.
Yes, sir.
We'd lose during the construction season. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thanks.
Okay. Moving on to the project financials. Excuse me. Current project status as far as money is involved. The original bid amount plus agreed upon change orders has placed the contract value at approximately. I used all three adjectives, didn't I? $190,600,000. The contractor has earned or completed the work valued at $150,300,000, approximately. We have withheld by the road user cost and the liquidated damages, we have withheld approximately $25,800,000. The contractor has been paid to $124,500,000, and I would say they have not received a positive estimate since last April. So,
Rex, are we up to date with subcontractors?
yes, ma'am, to our knowledge, yes. Okay, just kind of where we are today. Just prior to your last commission meeting, we sent Johnson Brothers Corporation a letter putting them on notice that we would be recommending default of this contract to you in the February commission meeting. In that notice, Johnson Brothers had 10 days to respond with a remedy for the lack of progress on the project. And since then, Johnson Brothers has responded. We've been in close communications with them and their surety to determine the best path forward. Johnson Brothers and their surety have agreed to the terms that we presented to allow them to remain on the project. Those terms were that we would not alter the original contract, specifically concerning the assessment of road user fees and liquidated damages. We did put a requirement that the current project superintendent would remain on the project until completion, as we've seen positive impacts from him being there. We are requiring weekly meetings with executive leadership. That would be mandatory, as well as continued dedication of resources to the project. Excuse me. Johnson Brothers has provided us with a resource-loaded schedule that we feel is feasible to complete the job by the end of the year. And Johnson Brothers has significantly increased their resources that they're dedicating to the project, and all this is since the letter that we would recommend default. So we have seen since January about 160% increase in man hours alone since January. So significant for us, especially this time of year. We've witnessed a much more focused and intentional effort on the project. Some notable increases on the project is switching eastbound traffic off of the old pavement, so we're wholly on new pavement. The westbound is mostly on new pavement, just a short section on the west end that it still lacks. And then, so these switches have opened up a significant portion of the job to finish, and they've attacked it with much more effort. As I mentioned earlier, we've been meeting with our Chief Operating Officer on the project management weekly to ensure that our expectations are clear, that goals are being met, and we will require the surety agent to attend these meetings in the future. That way he knows the status of the project at all times. In summary, Johnson Brothers is working at a level of effort that we feel is satisfactory and will complete the project by the end of the year. Our primary focus has been project completion and relief to the traffic, and we feel like with their current level of effort, this is the best move forward. So my recommendation, Mr. Chairman, to the Commission would be that you would defer action on the previous recommendation to default.
Okay, Rex, I may have some questions here. I know I have one comment or question.
Absolutely.
Last meeting, it seems like we were looking at a completion date of spring, sometime between April and June of 2025.
Yes, sir.
So the work that they've done in the last month has increased that to a reasonable expectation that we can get done before the end of the year.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so if the default went through and the surety requirements of 60 days to vacate, 30 days to place a new person on there, 90 days in the middle of the construction season, we couldn't get finished by December of this year, could we?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that 90 days is relatively conservative.
It's at least 90 days.
Yes, at least 90 days.
Okay.
Yes, sir. A few things that I would like to just bring to your attention before you make a motion here is the contractor has filed claims with the Claims Commission, and then they have filed a lawsuit in circuit court. So, and both of these are over days assessed on the project. As you can imagine, at this level of road user cost and this level of money, we will be fighting with them for a while, probably. So the number of days on the project could change depending on the outcome of that. Also, they have submitted a request for additional days for delays they claim they experienced during COVID, and we're reviewing that now and hope to have some answers on that soon. Excuse me. And we expect additional requests for days to come for other items on the job. So all those things could cause the number of days to vary in the future, but at this time we still would recommend deferment of action. Yes, sir.
Okay. If there's no other questions, I would just say that we continue to defer and there's no action needed by the commission at this point. Okay. We will defer to the next meeting or a special meeting if it's necessary.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Rex.
Thank you.
Is that it?
Yes, sir. Or yes, ma'am, sorry. You don't want to know. Last Sunday marked the 1-year anniversary for the tornado that came through Little Rock and then eventually Wynn, leaving just total devastation in its path. And as my maintenance activity update, I want to share this video of what that day was like from RDOT's perspective. And I would like to, before we start it, commend the communications division for just an outstanding job on this, and on top of the others. Lori?
We begin tonight with the breaking news. What the National Weather Service is calling a particularly dangerous situation, declaring a tornado emergency for a time in Little Rock.
Okay, I see power flashes. It's on the ground. It's on the ground. I saw power flashes.
There it is. We have a tornado. You can
That
see the
could be a
rotation.
strong tornado. It could be
Yeah.
EF2 or greater.
Yeah, that was our biggest concern today, folks. Strong tornado.
March 31st started out a little bit in turmoil, and that morning I got with my district maintenance engineer and my district construction engineer and staff, and I just had a bad feeling about the morning. Being in it this long, I kind of just, know. You have that gut feeling that this is going to be bad.
You start hearing reports, several of our employees right here in Little Rock that had damage in their homes. We had employees in maintenance division. I started getting pictures of RDOT trucks with trees, crushed the entire truck. I never imagined it would be the severeness of this tornado. Of course, our crews are used to any type of storm. It's pretty common to have trees down. Our maintenance crews are so good, and they're used to call-outs any hour of the day, 24/7, 365. And so we got some great people, but they have to be called out quite often. And so when you see severe weather like this, it always crosses my mind, yeah, we're going to have a busy day, our maintenance guys are.
On Fridays, most of my employees are normally off, so that meant that the bulk of our crews were off that day. As we watched it progress, we thought that we needed to call everyone in with the thought that if they come in and there's nothing, then okay, we have to pay a little overtime. But if it is bad, then we're already positioned in a place where we could react. On I Drive, there was a lot of red lines, especially around Rodney Parham. So we reacted first to there. The tornado had gone across there and did a lot of damage and knocked a power line out, which is really what shut the interstate down at that point.
I'm out here on Cantrell Road between a reservoir and Mississippi, and obviously traffic is getting by, but wow, it's just a lot of destruction.
We had crews also on Cantrell. Each of the area crews were pretty much covering their area and reacting to what was happening.
All of these crews, they know how to step into action. And really my role is a support role. Hey, what can we do to help? Coordinating with our state maintenance engineer. The district can support themselves, but the state maintenance engineer can help coordinate support from other districts.
Our crew, District 6, works very well in responding to emergencies. We gear up with chainsaws, or we gear up with different types of equipment that can pull debris out of the road.
And you think, okay, surely that's it. And then you hear a little bit later, it hits wind.
We'd heard about the storms coming through Little Rock, North Little Rock, but most of those usually track north of us, so really didn't give it too much thought about it coming on the wind. And there was debris, there were power lines, there were trees, just everything you can imagine out in the road.
I worked several years at District 1 in Wynn, and so I'm immediately thinking of two things. I'm thinking of all my friends, and I'm thinking of RDOT District 1 and what they're having to deal with.
Being in Arkansas, we've been around tornadoes. I'd not had one so directly and so closely impact all of my employees. We spent quite a bit of time that evening dislocating people.
District engineers from 10 and 5, the neighboring districts, were calling, what can we do to help there in Wynn and around the state?
I know how District 1 men and women respond. This is how they do it. They rise up to a challenge. Feels you were pride, but I'm not surprised. We had several employees who completely lost their homes, who were back at work Monday, ready to work. That's just how these men and women are. We're family at District 1, and that's how we treat each other. And like I say, these people are precious to you.
So I'm very proud of the District 6 family that we have. My team cares very much for the individuals and the work that they do when something like this happens. Some may not be sure what's happening to their family, but they're going to come in, they're going to take care of what they need to at RDOT. And for the traveling public, their safety is important as well. They did a great job.
Regardless of the situation, our people step up and they take care of business. They know how to help others.
There's a neighborhood on 430 south of Rodney Parham where there was quite a bit of debris and tree devastation going on there. And we worked with Environmental Division, and we had a contractor come in and clear the area and mulch the area and plant trees. It was just kind of a good thing to do, to be a good neighbor.
We're not just here in Little Rock, we are local. RDOT is in every community, every county, and we have local people there. We live in these communities, and we're here to serve these communities, and it's just a wonderful thing to have such good staff that can do that.
It's amazing to see top to bottom throughout the organization, just that level of dedication, professionalism, and just compassion.
Mr. Chairman, RDOT staff and maintenance workers respond around the clock. When things like this happen, as you heard from our engineers that were interviewed during this, they serve their communities with open hearts, and I would add, in calloused hands. This is a lot of hard work, and it's things like this that make me so proud to be associated with an agency that is just full of compassionate and hardworking people. We hope nothing like this ever happens again, but if we do, we'll step up and take care of business. Yes, sir. Thank you.
I said I agree with everything you just said, Rex. We experienced that in Jonesboro in 2020, and
Yes,
other
sir.
parts of Craighead County a year or two later, and then of course Wynn is over in my part of the state, and had calls from people asking for help from getting the school back open to doing different things, and our staff just always was right there and stepped up. So I appreciate everything you guys do.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Rex. I tell you, we're really, really proud of our maintenance employees out there in the field every day. There are a lot of things they do are unnoticed, but they keep our roads safe. And then when you have a disaster like this and they step up, it's more visible, but every single day they're out there keeping those roads safe, putting themselves into harm's way.
Absolutely.
So, thank you. All right, are you getting tired of this? Is anyone tired of it? We are. But it's getting close, so here we go.
Thank you.
Cue the music, please. All right. Thank you, Director Tudor. Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. We are only 4 short days away from the eclipse, so we are approaching the final countdown. So weather forecasts continue to adjust daily. We're looking, previously, as y'all probably seen, we were looking at rain and clouds, but fortunately recent forecasts are much more promising for viewing the eclipse. So I hope you've got your eclipse playlist ready. If not, Rex can help you out with that. Then one more note, I'm hoping, Patrick, after this weekend, I can actually help you with a little bump in those fuel consumption numbers, so we'll see how that goes. So RDOT staff has been busy sharing our plans, focusing on consistent messaging to all of our stakeholders. Again, as I've presented for several times the last few months, I don't want to repeat myself, so I'm not going to get into great details here, but as you know, our communications team has done an outstanding job in leading this effort. They've done roadshow presentations to civic groups and city groups, numerous media interviews, along with regular social media posts. As you know, RDOT hosted the Governor's Eclipse Conference right here back on March 4th. Our district engineers also have been integral in part of this messaging at the local level and doing plenty of media interviews as well.
We've participated, Ellen and I went to St. Louis and participated recently in a multi-state solar eclipse peer exchange in St. Louis, Missouri, where DOTs from Texas to New York came together, shared our eclipse plans and lessons learned from the 2017 eclipse. And my biggest takeaway from that peer exchange was the confidence that we here at RDOT are utilizing similar strategies as other DOTs, and knock on wood that we've not overlooked any obvious issues as we prepared for this event. So although the traffic management plan has been developed and published here for several months, our internal detailed planning efforts have continued at the district and local level. So this map on the screen, albeit crude, is just an example of a whiteboard layout. This is from our Southwest District 3, from Texarkana, Hope, DeQueen, Ashdown area, where they went in and sat down and marked out where each camera, each message board, drone, pickup, all-terrain vehicle, every resource we have, where they'd be located. So we repeated this effort across each district in the state to figure out where we're going to distribute those resources. So then this detailed district information was transferred to an interactive web-based dashboard that we could use for our staff to track these resources. So this here's just a screenshot of that working database as we were building it out, and it's even much further built out than you can see on the screen now. So it displays our resources, lets us identify what gaps might be in what areas so that we can adjust and be sure that we've got everything taken care of. So I know I can tell you all of our maintenance, construction, inspection staff is ready for this event. I'd like to echo a quote that I heard following the 2017 eclipse. This came from a gentleman, Kurt Kurtner, from Marshall County, Kentucky. He was the emergency management director, and they did a lot of planning back in 17, and after it was over, he quoted this. He said, "In the end, we were grossly over-prepared. I will never apologize for being grossly over-prepared." So I kind of feel like that, and I believe we all do, and that's a good thing. But I can tell you now that RDOT is ready to shine regardless of the weather that day. And I'm just, again, want to say and echo what Rex and the director said. I'm so proud of the work that our maintenance division and field resources do. Our districts, our highway police, our communications team, our planning team, what they've done to prepare for this event. I can't guarantee a clear day on Monday, but I can tell you that our staff is ready to serve and to help keep traffic moving as safely and as efficiently as possible for this eclipse. I hope you enjoy that time. It's going to be a great day and looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, what's your plans, Chairman?
Well, I've got family coming in from Colorado.
Oh.
That want to come and see the eclipse. So there's no telling, like I said, the estimates I've heard from 300,000 to $1.5 million. We'll just wait and see, I guess.
Yes, sir.
And for those of you that didn't recognize Steve's walk-up song, that was "Total Eclipse of the Heart" by Bonnie Tyler.
My personal favorite is "There Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone."
Thank you, Steve. That's a good report. We look forward to
Okay.
we look forward to your wrap-up report next time.
Thank you.
Okay, recent department activities. I was privileged to moderate an infrastructure panel at the inaugural Arkansas Lithium Innovation Summit on February 16th. And it was really a fabulous event, and I had to get up to speed on all the lithium activity that's going on, and it's pretty impressive what is going on in South Arkansas. According to the Standard Lithium website, recently some of the highest reported levels of lithium in North America have been found in the Smackover Formation. And the Smackover Formation in southern Arkansas is mainly the counties of Miller, Lafayette, Columbia, and Union. And according to Reuters, with the global push for vehicle electrification, demand for lithium batteries is projected to leap 5-fold by 2030. So this is really timely in the electrification of the fleet across the nation and this Smackover Formation that they've identified being so high in lithium. pardon me, the lithium industry could mean an influx of well-paying jobs and large-scale economic opportunities for South Arkansas, an area that has experienced economic struggles over the past few decades. It is wonderful to see this opportunity to come to this area of our state. And you know, there's a lot of important aspects to growing an economy in a state, but I believe infrastructure is one of the most important. And so the ability to move people, equipment, materials, and product efficiently and effectively is a vital component to any economic endeavor. Our panel discussed that. It was a great panel. We had leaders representing various infrastructure spaces in Arkansas. We had Brian Day, Executive Director of Little Rock Port Authority, Michael Considine, Vice President of Delivery Operations Entergy, Drew Tesche, who's with Union Pacific, Jared Mounts, who's with J.B. Hunt, and Ward Wimbish, which was with the Port of West Memphis. It was a great panel. And we just discussed the importance of infrastructure and what that role would be in the lithium industry. And we received a lot of positive feedback from that panel. I thought it was a great discussion. I just reported on our progress in the grand scheme of things. We've been working with the industry to identify improvements that are needed in that area to support the lithium mining activities. And that would include number of wells to be drilled, the equipment and materials to be hauled, all those things. We're coordinating that with the industry to see where do we need to focus any improvements in that area. I also reported on RDOT's national vehicle electrification efforts and we're going to talk about that here in a minute, the National Electrical Vehicle Infrastructure Program, and getting that fully built out, those infrastructure charging stations to support the electrification of our fleets. So it was a great conference. I don't know how much you've heard about lithium. I'm sure Commissioner Hake has heard more about it than anyone, but it's coming, and it's really going to be something to watch and see it unfold. Jared, he went to, and the commission, I only think two of you were able to go. Was it Marie, Commissioner Holder and Chairman Farmer were able to be there for the Leadership Arkansas Class 18. That we've been doing this for years, going and talking to this group. It's a 9-month program for these leaders across Arkansas to network, learn, and develop their leadership skills. And so we go and we talk about highways, and we do a mock exercise of developing a STIP. And who better to do that than Jared Wiley? And he did an absolutely phenomenal job. I wasn't there to witness it, but I've heard from so many people how well he did. And he, we're just, what were you calling him?
He was a natural. I don't know how many people remember the old Phil Donahue show.
Oh yeah, Phil Donahue's show.
But he was walking through the audience and handing the microphone out. He did a great job. Appreciate you, Jared.
It's one of, everyone has their strengths, and he just has the strength of connecting with people, and obviously it went really well. So, sorry, but it's probably going to be on you for the rest of your career. Randy used to do it, and he did a great job, but you were right there with him. It's hard to fill Randy Ort's shoes.
It's in good hands now.
It's in good hands
with Jared there. So.
The Arkansas Governor's Conference on Tourism, that was a great event. It was so well done, and we got a lot of ideas for our SASHTO event that's coming up in August. But anyway, really it's a great event. Me and Jared went to that, and I was on a panel to discuss the solar eclipse. And it was just a great conversation. We just talked about how to prepare individually. If you're going to be out there, if you're going to have to travel that day, be sure to put, water, and be sure to have your gas tank filled up before you go anywhere, maybe earlier in the week, because there might be a strain on gasoline. All those things, and just to be ready. And we talked it over. And of course, AJ Gary, he's right in the middle of all the planning on making sure everything's being thought of. He's doing a great job. So that was a that was a great panel we were on. And pardon me. And then I went on March 1st at Commissioner Gibson's request to speak to the Chamber's first Friday breakfast. It was very well attended. We talked about I-49 among other projects in the area. It's always great to go to Fort Smith. They're so welcoming and glad to hear about anything that's going on in their area, and enjoyed it. Then after we finished our breakfast, we went on down the road to the Greenwood Bypass groundbreaking. And that was a great event. Those folks in that area are so excited about this project, so thankful for the project. It is a partnering project where the city came in and doing all kinds of different things to accelerate construction of that work. And we just had a great day of celebration. We had Congressman Womack, Senator Stubblefield, Representative Johnson, Commissioner Gibson, and then Greenwood Mayor Doug Kinslow, as well as Dane Burgess. Dane Burgess is the brother of Trey Burgess, which y'all just named this new segment of Highway 10 after him. The Burgess family was very involved with donating right-of-way and promoting this project. And Trey passed away, unfortunately, a few years ago. And the family wanted to, as a thank you to the family for all they did to make that project a reality, the city wanted to name that after Trey Burgess, who as a memorial highway. So the Burgess family was there. It was very touching. It was a great day just to be there. Okay. Well, this wasn't a stressful day at RDOT. Just, business as usual. You had the governor coming in to do a press conference, and it really went well thanks to our staff. Everyone stepped up and tried to make it the best it could be to welcome the governor, as well as a lot of her cabinet came. Everyone shared an update on the solar eclipse. It was a great event. We were proud to do it. And appreciated the governor wanting to come here and come into our home, and we enjoyed it. It was a great day. I was invited to go to the Baldwin Shell Women in Construction luncheon and share my story of my career in infrastructure. And of course, I'm always honored when I'm asked to share insight on how I made it from a clerk typist to the director of RDOT. So it was a great event. I spoke with them, and they seemed to be well received. So I enjoyed that. And we got invited to be on PBS Arkansas Week to be interviewed about the solar eclipse, and so that was a great experience to be on TV. And it's not on your list of everyday activities that you do, but it worked out well. I was there with A.J. Gary, and of course he's excellent at talking about the eclipse, and so I don't know how many of you saw it. Good. I cannot watch myself. And I've asked, I was at church and one person came up, I saw you on TV. I said, oh, did you? And I said, how was it? I can't watch it. And she said, well, you made sense. I said, that's good. That's good. She said, sometimes people get on there and they don't make any sense, but you made sense. I said, that's a good compliment. Thank you. So, anyway. The Southeast Pavement Preservation Partnership. As you can tell, I'm having trouble with my voice. Well, it was really bad that day, so Parker stepped in. He was my pinch hitter, and he presented to that group about projects coming up. He did a great job, and that particular that annual meeting, it's the first time we've hosted it. We hosted it in Hot Springs. It was a great opportunity to talk about how to extend pavement life, improve safety, and meet the expectations of road users. So, great day, great time to talk to these folks that came from all over the southeast corner of the United States. So that concludes what we've done since our last meeting, and now I'm going to ask Jared Wiley to come up and talk about our series around the department, and this time we're going to talk about local programs division.
Thank you, Director. We often get a lot of questions around here about some of our non-traditional, non-highway type funding programs, so we thought we'd take a few minutes today to talk about some of those and see if you guys have any questions about them. So in addition to that $40 million in state aid, city aid funding that Kelly mentioned earlier, RDOT is responsible for administering about $80 million worth of funding that passes through us to other entities. It flows through us for various reasons, and some of those programs that it flows to are shown here on the screen. Some of these programs were changed or created through the IIJA, so to adapt to some of these changes, Director Tudor created a new division, the Local Programs Division, last year with the reorganization to make sure we efficiently and effectively manage these funds and these programs. Depending on the program, they offer federal or state funding to cities, counties, nonprofits, other state agencies, some educational organizations, and in some cases, private companies. So the first one I'd like to talk about is the department's local bridge program. This is a federal aid funding program that sets aside money to renovate or replace aging bridges on public roads that are off of the federal aid highway system. So to be off the federal aid highway system, a roadway needs to be classified as a local road or a rural minor collector through the functional classification system. What that means simply is these are roads that carry relatively low traffic volumes and they don't connect major thoroughfares. So we utilize the funding that we get in the off-system bridge program where we can on our system. RDOT actually owns about 200 bridges that are on the off-system bridge facilities. We use funding there for inspections, repair, maintenance, and then we make funding available to cities and counties to replace or rehabilitate bridges. Again, these bridges must be off the federal aid system and owned by a municipal agency or county. They must be in poor condition or posted for weight restriction or have demonstrated safety issues. There's about 12,700 bridges in the state, and 2,700 of those bridges are actually off-system bridges. This program was updated last year to provide greater incentive to public agencies for participation. What we did was we increased the federal funding share. The new IIJA brought federal funding at 100%, a new program, and our traditional funding was at 80%. So we combined those to a 90-10 program to make it more accessible for counties and cities because some of these projects can be quite costly. In the past year, we've received 38 applications for funding, and we've made 33 awards for preliminary engineering. So we're moving ahead with over 30 bridge projects at this time. The next program I'd like to talk to you about is our intersection improvement program. This program sets aside funding for new traffic signal installation, traffic signal upgrades, signal coordination to make sure that signals communicate properly in busy areas. It can involve the addition of turn lanes at busy intersections, radius improvements, or the construction of roundabouts. This program was started about 20 years ago in 2005. We do about 2 to 4, depending on the year, projects per year, and we've improved over 50 intersections under this program in the past 20 years. Last year we completed construction on 2 projects in the state through this program, one in Jonesboro on Highway 18 in Quality Way, and one in Harrison, pictured on your screen here, at Highway 65, 43 and Rock Springs Road. We expect to take bids on a new roundabout project in Conway next month. So initially, this program started out as a $2 million per year program with a $350,000 federal match per project. In 2022, this amount was increased based on rising costs. These projects do get more expensive as time passes, and so now we make available $1 million federal per project and $4 million per year. Projects are funded through 80% federal, 10% state, and 10% local match. To be eligible, at least one leg has to be on highway, a state highway or a U.S. highway. And these intersections must meet warrants, so there must be enough traffic wanting to turn or go through that intersection sufficient to justify the improvements. So we have to meet those warrants to get funded. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's just take, for example, a proposal that maybe a roundabout that would cost, I know it varies, but can you throw out a figure how much a roundabout costs?
It's going to vary based on the terrain and,
Yeah.
and the area, but typically around about $2 to $3 million probably.
Let's say you have a
construction.
$2 million roundabout, and the city wanted to apply. I guess the city could apply for this program. How much could they potentially receive
From RDOT?
from RDOT?
So
And then through this program?
Yes, sir. 1 million federal and then 125,000 state. So we could help them get there. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir. The projects are awarded on a first-come, first-served basis, and they can be submitted year-round. So anytime anybody has a request, they ask us, and we do get requests often. Yes, sir. There is currently a backlog of projects, and I think we have about 20 projects that are being developed at this time. So another popular program, two popular programs that we have, I'll talk about them here together because they're very similar, is our Transportation Alternatives Program, or TAP, and our Recreational Trails Program. We abbreviate as RTP. I mentioned before we love our acronyms. You may hear me use those, but those are the programs. These are both reimbursable type grant programs that provide pedestrian, bicycle, non-traditional, non-motorized improvements to highways, city streets, or even in new location areas where maybe new trails are being built. These programs fund construction, and they started in the federal legislation in 1991, so they've been around a while. We've been administering these programs for over 3 decades. Eligible projects may include just a couple of tidbits here: sidewalks, bike lanes, pedestrian and bicycle signals, lighting, other safety-related features, the conversion of old railroads to trails, streetscaping, rehabilitation of historic transportation facilities such as the Saline River Bridge in Saline County that's being renovated through these programs on the Southwest Trail, and turnouts, overlooks, trailhead facilities, and viewing areas are also eligible activities. Sponsors apply for these funds through a competitive application process each year, and it's open typically 3 months in the spring. It's presently open now. It closes May 31st. State DOTs, RDOT, we're not eligible sponsor for TAP funding. So the next slide shows who is eligible. It's a neat graphic. So local government agencies are eligible: cities, counties, towns, transit agencies, public land agencies, schools or school districts, metropolitan planning organizations, or some private nonprofits are eligible sponsors. The maximum federal aid funding request each cycle that we make available for a single project is $500,000, and projects have to request at least $20,000 to be considered. We recently made a change to this program. Typically, construction only was available for funding. We're now making funding available for all phases. So, similar to the local bridge, some small cities may not have funding to start a project. So now we can provide funding to help them do the engineering work necessary to get a project off the ground. This program, both of these programs, I want to make sure we understand they're reimbursable programs. So similar to how our highway construction program works, no federal funding is provided up front. The local sponsors, in this case, pay for all the bills. They pay for the construction. They submit a reimbursement claim to us, and then we ask the Federal Highway Administration to reimburse the individual there.
Jared?
Yes, sir.
Hey, all the programs we've talked about so far in your presentation, those are all restricted funds. They can only be used for those things and not for highway construction or road construction. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. The Intersection Improvement Program, we set aside a little bit of regular highway, but the rest of them, yes, they're dedicated solely for that purpose.
80% to 100% federal funding.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thanks.
And then on this, it's reimbursement, 80% is reimbursable. One thing I wanted to note, recreational trails program, it's a smaller portion of this pie. It's about $1.5 million a year, but these projects are eligible for in-kind match. So if a city comes to us and says, I can't afford to match this with cash, but I have some labor or some materials I want to donate or right-of-way potentially, that can be considered for in-kind match in lieu of cash. We do request a 1% administrative fee from the sponsors. That helps just to pay our staff to administer the program. Okay, and then just a quick summary here. Our staff has really developed some nice informational sheets. We take these with us as we go to conferences and seminars and talk about the funding programs we have available that help our local partners out there. They're also on our website. I'll show you that link in a minute. Okay, moving on to another neat program we have. This is the Arkansas, it's a mouthful, Arkansas Commercial Truck Safety and Education Program. We know it here by its acronym ACCEP. It provides funding for the advancement of roadway safety through the trucking industry, for regulatory compliance, training, Oh, all right, thank you. But Mike, all right, unlike the previously mentioned programs, ACCEP comes from state funds, so it's a state-funded program, no federal involved here. It's funded with that first $2 million collected annually from a registration fee increase that was enacted back in 2013 for trucks operating in the state. No funding match required for this funding. On the screen, you'll see a couple of projects that were funded through the program. On the top is our Share the Road traffic simulator that Shannon and her group use at ATA. It's a really successful program there that the committee has funded through this funding. And then on the bottom, you see our new truck parking facility in West Memphis. We converted an old piece of property that we had where the Welcome Center was to allow trucks to park there safely overnight. All right, the last program I want to talk about and go in a little more detail is our new National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, or NEVI. It's got an acronym too, NEVI. This newly created program provides federal aid funding to build electric vehicle charging stations nationwide with a goal of reaching full build out in the country by 2030. This funding program is allocated strictly for this purpose, can't be used for anything else. This program is $5 billion nationwide. Arkansas expects to receive $54.1 million in this program over the next several years through 2026. This funding is available until it's expended. Again, it's another reimbursable type program. No funding is provided up front. It comes in the form of federal reimbursement. A 20% non-federal match is required for each project. So we heard about the new funding program, but before we could start working on and giving that money out, we needed to put a plan together to show how we could spend it. So we developed that plan. That plan was approved in 2022. We partnered with the Department of Energy and Environment. They provided some really good feedback and expertise and experience that they had there as we developed the program. This plan communicates our goals and strategy and tell the public how we're going to use this funding. I wanted to note that our staff did an excellent job on this, and our plan was highlighted by the Federal Highway Administration as a nationwide best practice, so they did a wonderful job on it. Again, the department is committed to ensuring that federal dollars are utilized for their intended purposes, and even given that, so we wanted to make sure that we were clear on what we were and were not willing to do here. So we stated in our plan that we didn't intend to own or operate, maintain these charging stations, or allow them on the RDOT right-of-way. And we made it clear that we were going to use private funds to match. No state highway dollars would be used to match these federal funds. So our first objective, as stated in the plan and as required by the Federal Highway Administration, is to build out the interstates and alternative fuel corridors. They're shown in yellow on the screen. To be built out, we have to have a NEVI compliant fast charger station every 50 miles along those yellow routes, and each charging station must be within a mile of that route, so it can't be more than a mile off the interstate. There are also certain power and uptime requirements that are required for each charging station. Again, we're working to meet these federal requirements, and the plan laid out a framework for us to do that. The next slide will show that our hierarchy of funding. So we're going to try to tackle the first two in blue first, and then we'll move to other routes of significance shown in gray, and then of course other priorities as funds are available. So once the state is determined to be fully built out, fast charger every 50 miles along the network, then the agency, RDOT, can go out for applications for other routes off the alternative fuel corridor network. So thinking, other major highways, 67, 82, routes of this nature. But we're going to be meeting with the public, getting their feedback as we develop that next plan of action. We're not quite to that point yet. So first, before we get fully built out, we had to do all that, and then we had to open up requests for applications. So we told the public September 27th of last year that this money was available. We made them aware that the application period would last and be open for 90 days through November. We received 120 proposals during that application period for charging stations within the state. Requests totaled about $90 million. So they asked for 120 proposals with $90 million value. All these proposals were reviewed and evaluated by our Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Deployment Program Committee. We established this committee to make sure that we objectively reviewed each of these applications. We got a member from the Department of Energy and Environment to serve on the committee. We have our local programs division, planning and right-of-way also on the committee, and a non-voting member from Federal Highway Administration. So the committee initially screened those proposals to determine if they passed the first level of requirements. Of the 120 proposals that were screened, 89 of those were found to be compliant with NEVI. The primary reason that an application may be deemed ineligible or non-compliant is that it may not provide the power requirements required by law or the number of charging ports required by law. So those 89 compliant projects or proposals were then scored and ranked based on the needs in the area. So we didn't just look at who submitted the proposal for the least amount of money. We looked at multiple criteria, including whether or not the proposal was along an alternative fuel corridor, whether it was cost effective, whether there were amenities available that would entice a traveler to be able to spend time there instead of just waiting while their car charged. We'd like for them to have something to do there. Hours of operation, ease of access, these were factors that were used to score and rank those proposals. So after reviewing all those applications and scoring them, the committee recommended 19 projects for funding for construction of charging infrastructure. Those are shown in the large green dots on the screen. These projects, if awarded by the Commission, will utilize 14.9 of the $54 million in NEVI funding. Again, this is all privately matched. No state funding will be expended for this effort. And to make sure that we can protect that taxpayer investment in RDOT budget, we are going to require performance and payment bonds for from each applicant should any of their project be deemed ineligible for federal funding based on not following the federal grant requirements. So based on this recommended group of awards, most all of our gap areas will be filled, but the department will need to go out for another call to fill a few remaining gaps in the system to reach fully built out. But I want to make sure people know it's not the end of the line for those applicants who did not receive funding or recommendation for funding. That second round will allow us to communicate and debrief them on where their application fell short, should they want to apply again the second time.
Jared had a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
First, looking at the map, it's obvious that there's not much up in northwest Arkansas as far as one of the recommendations. I assume it's because they already have a lot of private charging facilities and the need wasn't there as much.
Yes, sir. So that's a great question. So it's maybe hard to see, but there's a little blue, like an upside down teardrop on the map. I think there's 6 of those locations. You'll see those existing NEVI compliant fast chargers exist in those areas.
Okay.
But as we...
Okay, I see them now.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. But as we developed, we learned that, this is a new program. It's ever changing. We're getting guidance frequently. For those charging stations that exist to be considered NEVI compliant, we think they may need to opt into the program, which means they'll be subject to uptime requirements. And so we're not sure if they're going to opt in or not. So we'll be communicating with them in the next few months to see if they want to opt in. If not, we will be going back out for a call for those areas.
Okay, second question here. You keep referring to fast charging. I know, is that the faster charging, more expensive charging system as opposed?
Yes, sir, it is. It is.
That's part of the requirement.
That's right. That's right. Okay. And then, these things it's evolving. The infrastructure and this electric vehicle market is ever changing. We're meeting the minimum requirements that's required by NEVI.
Well, I just want to commend you guys for the work you put in and the public-private partnership. I think it's so important to have the private sector involved in this and this not be a governmental operation 100%.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and I wanted to thank, so the next slide shows our website and our division head, David Siskowski of the newly appointed local programs division. He and Minghua Chu Miller are here today. They did a phenomenal job, them and their staff, for getting all this done. So thank you guys for all your work on this.
Yes, sir.
Questions, and I think this started probably before I ever came on. I'm old. I've been told I'm slow, and so I have some questions. You've explained a lot. Obviously, the 20% is a private match. So wherever they go, they basically then own them, don't they?
Yes, sir. After, I believe it's a 5-year period, a performance period, and after that, the infrastructure becomes theirs.
Any maintenance
There,
is up to the vendor?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And
any fill-up fee or charging fee they keep?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I was going through the cost, and I don't know. If you take sheet 1, the very first one that's awarded, these things are costing about $279,000 each, and they want 4. You can go down a little bit further, and in categories, and I'm not going to go through all of the pages, but there's also categories where they said they can put them in at $34,000 each. I mean, what's the difference?
So when we started looking at this, rough estimate for 4 chargers at one location was going to be about $1 million per station. So 4 chargers are required there. So $250 per charger is really more in line with what we expected. You know, I'm not sure exactly about each individual one. If you had a question about that, I can look at it. But some of these may not have been proven cost effective. I'm not sure which one you're talking about there, but we expected them to cost about $1 million per station. So we saw that we were pleasantly surprised we're able to deliver them probably for about $750. I think through this cycle.
Well, you have one that's approved on the very first page that's about 200. If it's $1,116,000, so that came out about $279,000 per charger.
Yes, sir.
And then on the second page, you have one that was $479,000 for 7, which is $68,000 each. So I'm thinking it's just somebody making a lot of money, putting them in.
Well, I mean,
Who selected the, for instance, Empower connection? Is that the vendor that's going to do that?
Yes. So they would have. So you're talking. Let me make sure I'm on the same one. You're talking about which one?
Okay, if you go to page 1 on this, right here.
Yeah, the top one. Yes.
Top one. Yeah.
So what they would have done. It's my understanding they would have gone to potential clients, in this case the Jiffy Trip in Siloam Springs, and said, hey, we want to partner with you to help you get some infrastructure funds to install charging stations. And so they did the legwork to talk to eligible locations, people who own property, and they came up with a proposal that met their needs. So they may have undercut sometimes. Maybe they had planned to put one in cheaper than the next person down the road to try to be more competitive. I can't speak to that, but they searched out the property owner there to partner with them for this project.
Okay, because most of the time, other than the one I mentioned, most of the time it seems like it's the highest cost one that gets the bid, and that's what I was just wondering about.
Well, some of those are not NEVI compliant either. Some of those lower cost ones, so that may have some of the reason for the lower cost too. They didn't beef up their infrastructure as much as is required by the program, so we would expect that to cost a little less. But we can get you some more details if you like.
Jared, would you do that for us?
I'd be glad to.
And then I know another factor that comes into it is the availability and proximity to the grid, the ability to deliver the electrical supply.
Yes, sir.
So I mean, I assume that's on their nickel too, to get connected to that.
It is. So if they need to add infrastructure to get there, we expect that to cost a little more. Right. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, if you could get some information for us, that'd be great.
Be glad to.
Yeah.
Jared,
they go all over.
Do we have a partnering program with the private sector to somebody who wants to put one close to their business or whatever, and they'll pay half the cost or anything like that?
No, sir. This is the program we have. There is another grant program at the federal level that has. This is a $5 billion national program. There's a $2.5 billion national program that makes funding available now for that, so they could look to that program. But no, we don't have anything besides this one here at RDOT.
Would you prefer to defer this minute order until we can answer these questions and get into the weeds?
To me, it's just a federal boondoggle anyway. It's federal money. You might as well just spend it. It only comes from the taxpayers. But
would you like us to send the money back?
No, if you'll send mine back.
Was that a form of a motion, David?
I guess motion is go ahead. Proceed.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I'm not sure I'm saying aye.
Like I said, I mean, this is federal dollars. It's restricted funds. If the money's not spent here, it's being spent in another state somewhere else, and we're doing the best we can. Like I said, we may not all agree with the funding process sometimes, but put in a lot of hard work, and I think it's important that the private sector's involved in this as well. So, and Jared, we'll get that information. Okay, thank you.
Consultant selection, we have a recommendation. The commission approved us to go out for proposals back in April of last year to select a consulting firm for the implementation of a non-destructive testing of bridge decks that's needed as funds become available. And we received 6 letters of interest that were received. 3 of those firms were further evaluated, and of the 3 firms evaluated, we have determined that BDI, which is Bridge Diagnostics Incorporated of Louisville, Colorado, demonstrated technical expertise, and the evaluation committee is familiar and comfortable with what they proposed, and also the Louisiana DOT gave a very favorable review of the work that they do. They've worked for Louisiana as well. So after a thorough assessment, we recommend Bridge Diagnostics Incorporated to be selected, and we would like a motion to allow us to start negotiations with that firm.
Do I hear a motion? Got a motion? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of recommendations signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we've got that passed. Moving right along.
All right. Upcoming events. Actually tonight, the commissioners and some of the staff will be attending the Associated General Contractors of Arkansas Construction Hall of Fame to honor D.B. Hill, our good friend and longtime construction person. Anyway, that's tonight, and we'll be doing that. On April 8th, the eclipse. Everybody get ready. Get your glasses. They're right out here. Don't hurt your eyeballs. Don't look directly at the sun. So, April 9th, Northwest Arkansas Council Spring Meeting. Vice Chairman Taldo will be attending that. April 12th, I will be attending the Women in STEM Conference to welcome, although we do that yearly now, and it's just it's just our efforts in reaching young high school and junior high girls to consider the opportunities in the STEM program. April 15th is Work Zone Awareness Week, and we'll have a big kickoff event, and we're going to be at the Clinton Library overlooking 30 Crossing, in the parking lot. We've got a lot planned for that day or for that event. We're excited about it and hopefully have some good press coverage on that. April 17th is the Springdale Bypass and XNA Connector combined groundbreaking. So that will be going on. It will be located at the Northwest Arkansas National Airport to celebrate those 2 projects and their start. April 18th, Good Roads Executive Board meeting. Me and Chairman Farmer will be attending that. April 24th to 27th is the Ashto Spring meeting, and I will be attending that as president of the Southern Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials Association. I'm on the executive board of Ashto this year, so I'm going to actually approve their budget. So that's a pretty exciting thing. I'm looking forward to seeing how all that works. May 1st through the 2nd is our AAPA annual conference. We'll be going to Hot Springs and speaking to that group. May 2nd, Highway 37 Tuckerman overlay ribbon cutting. May 7th, RDOT AGC partnering meeting. May 14th, I have a PE board meeting. Then we have Memorial Day on the 27th. June 5th is the Central Arkansas Vulnerable Road User Safety Summit. June 6th is the statewide rodeo finals. You all are invited to come. I know Commissioner Holder, she comes sometimes, and I don't know, have any of y'all been to that before?
I want to see it though.
I've been,
Alex, have you
several,
been?
it's been several years, but yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Well, you're welcome to come. It's a great time to watch our maintenance crews and all their skills in operating the equipment. A good time, and then we feed you. Is it catfish? What are we going to have? Catfish and barbecue?
Yes.
All right.
I'll be there.
So the crews that, they compete from, each district has a competition, and then their winners come to the statewide. They bring their families. It really means a lot to these employees, and it's a great morale builder, and it's great for us too, just to get to spend some time with them. Okay, let's see. We have the Electrical League of Arkansas. I'm not 100% sure about what that means, but I'm going to speak to them about it. Arkansas Trucking Association Safety Management Council on the 13th, and then we'll be back together again on June 19th for your next commission meeting. So,
All right, I've just added the rodeo
we'll
to
just
the
be
calendar.
twiddling our thumbs till our next.
There you go. Is there any other comments from the commissioners?
I have a question. When this sun does its thing on the 8th, I mean, you all have spent so much time coordinating this and doing everything else. Well, you're obviously going to wind up with a lot of time on your hand. So do we come up with ideas for them to have to do?
We've got that covered.
Oh, you got it covered. Okay. Thank you.
All right, anything else?
Our other business. Okay.
Other business, okay. I thought, go ahead.
We planned for the solar eclipse after hours. It was just a little extra thing that got thrown into. So maybe we can take the day off on Saturday or something like that from now on. Would that be good?
Half a day on Saturday.
Yeah. Yes. That work? All right, take the weekend off after the eclipse. Okay, on February 27th, we got notice from our senior bridge operations engineer that after a routine inspection of the Highway 20 bridge in Phillips County, structural deficiencies were found leading to a load posting. We were thankfully able to expedite this work and began repairing the Highway 20 bridge on March 18th. That day we got the major repairs done in that day and were able to lift the posting. And while there's still some minor work to be done, as of March 20th, the bridge is operating unposted with both lanes open. We were thankful to get that done so quickly. That doesn't happen every time, but this time it did. And it's just another example of our team's strong work and what they're able to accomplish. But we received this thank you banner, and all these folks that are here are from different companies that use that road, and it was nice to get such a great thank you. So we wanted to share that with you. We received in March some Engineering Excellence Awards by the American Council of Engineering Companies of Arkansas for 3 projects. We got an Engineering Excellence Award for large category transportation. This is for some rehabilitation work we completed on I-40, and the firm that designed the job was Michael Baker International. And this was a 23-mile project of I-40 between Conway and North Little Rock. We also received another award for large category special transportation. The engineering firm that designed this project and received the award was Craft and Toll, and it was to relocate and widen Highway 62 in Pea Ridge National Military Park in northwest Arkansas. And so a lot of effort went into that, a lot of coordination with that park, and they received an award. And of course, this was a big deal for the consulting industry to be at this award ceremony, and they invited us to come and share in that celebration for that award. We rely heavily on our consultant friends that help us deliver these projects, especially specialized projects. We have a young, inexperienced staff. Not everybody, but there's been a lot of turnover, and and our consultants step in and help us on a lot of these major projects. The engineering firm, this is the third Engineering Excellence Award for a large category, and this one was also awarded to Craft and Toll. It was I-49 and Highway 71B in Benton County. It constructed a single-point urban interchange, and it was the second interchange of that kind in Arkansas at the time of completion. It was a great project. It's done really well, and they received, I think, the Grand Inceptor Award. They got the big award for the whole award ceremony, so it was a pretty cool time to celebrate with them for that project. Next, I would like to introduce our new Assistant Chief Fiscal Officer, Leslie Coddington. Leslie, are you back there? There she is. We're so excited about Leslie coming back on board. Now, she was our chief internal auditor, and she came to us from Conway. She was auditor at the University of Central Arkansas, Conway. We got her to come and be our chief auditor. She did a great job. Then they wanted her back, so they got her back. And then we wanted her back, so we got her back. And she's moved from the audit world into the chief fiscal officer world, into the accounting world, and we're excited about that. She's a certified public accountant. She's going to provide a great service for us and help Patrick. He needs all the help he can get. So we're so excited to bring her back. She's just a great team member, and I don't know if any of you know this, but we have migrated over from an old mainframe financial accounting system into an Oracle cloud-based system. That's been going on for several years now. It's been difficult and challenging, and our staff has done an amazing job. It's not easy no matter who you are, but we have since almost, I think we're on the downhill slide now. And Leslie comes on. It's just going to be a great time. I think we're headed in the right direction as far as our financial health of the department. So we're just glad to have her back. We have 3 district engineers that are retiring this year. 2 have already retired, District 9 engineer Steve Lawrence and District 10 engineer Brad Smithy, both retired in March. And then Bruce Street will be retired in June. We've already named their successors, and before I go on to that, I just want to say these 3 men have done a phenomenal job, have had a great career here at RDOT, and we're going to miss them. But we've got 3 really great folks to step up and take their place. Alec Roof will be the new district engineer in District 5, Stacy Burge in District 9, and Shane Wood in District 10. We're excited about all that they're going to do in their time in that district engineer role. And so maybe next commission meeting we might get them to come up here and y'all can meet them personally if you haven't already met them. But we're excited about the future. We're happy that we have such a strong succession planning in place, that we can lose such great folks that are so, have so much institutional knowledge, but we won't miss a step. We won't miss a beat. We've got people stepping up, and it's going to be great. And finally, I wanted to talk to you about our RDOT Fallen Memorial that we've talked about in other meetings. Safety is our #1 core value here at the department. It's something we keep in mind in everything we do, not only for the road users, but also for our employees and for our contractors, our contractor employees. And our current, I don't know if you noticed it when you came in, but our current fallen worker memorial for RDOT workers is just a real simple traffic cones with a sleeve on it to identify that employee and when they passed away. And we've wanted for a while to do something more, to do something that had, that honored our fallen employees in a better way. So, as you know, we went out, and when we went to all the Christmas Service Award celebrations, I pitched the idea, and I said, I want everyone's idea, everyone submit their ideas. And so they did. And we had, I think we had about 20 different ideas. And we took those ideas, and we have an artist that is in our environmental division, and we brought him in, and we sat down and we went through all of the ideas submitted by the employees. And he's such an amazing artist. He just picked up a piece of paper and he just started sketching based on what all the employees had submitted as ideas. And this was the concept that he came up with. And the idea is these columns on either side are symbolic of praying hands, and then in the middle is the image of the state of Arkansas, and it says to honor our fallen women and men that gave their lives in service to the state. And that's suspended, and then up you can see how the skip lines go up into just infinity as far as it could just the road that goes up. So that's the symbolism there, and then you see the RDOT logo and the highway police shield. This is a plan view. Well, this is a 3D view you can see over here to kind of give a different perspective of what it'll look like. The plan view is we plan underneath those underneath the columns there, we'll have a asphalt road about 10 foot wide that will be a path underneath the two columns, and then there will be a brick path along that asphalt road that will be bricks that will identify each of the employees that lost their life. Our records go all the way back to the 1970s, so we will identify, and each brick will identify that employee and honor them. We also plan to have flag poles, lighted flag poles on each side, one of the Arkansas flag, one of the United States flag, and then benches so that folks can have a place to sit. I just want to say thank you to Edgar Ariza. He's our artist that did that for us. He actually is from Columbia. Is that right? Yes. And he's very, very talented, and he came to us. Was actually an architect in his home country. He came to us, and he's worked in our environmental division. He's about to retire April 9th, I believe is your last day. But he was amazing talent, and he sat down and put that together, and it was just wonderful to watch how, I can't draw a stick figure very well, so to see his talent was amazing. In fact, one of our ideas was a stick figure, but they said you get the idea, so anyway, but we appreciate him helping us put together this concept. The next step will get it designed, get a cost estimate, raise the funds for it, and then hopefully by the end of the year we'll start construction on it. So excited. So that concludes my report, and I'll kick it back over to you, Chairman.
Okay. Do any other commissioners have any comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to give a shout out to Bob Crafton and Tull engineers. They got their firm got two big excellence awards here on big projects in Northwest Arkansas. They did a great job, but about last month, Bob turned 90 years old, and they had a party for him there in Rogers. And Bob has really been a mainstay, not just in northwest Arkansas, but they've kind of grown throughout the state, and they're doing really good work. And Bob has participated in the Good Roads Foundation quite a bit, and I just wanted to give a shout out to Bob on his 90th birthday. Thank you.
Thank you. He's a really good guy. We enjoy him, and he's just been such a supporter. And I hope when I talked about those excellent awards, I mentioned that they were awarded to Craft and Toll and Associates.
Yeah.
Did I? Oh, good. Anyway.
All right. Anything else? Once again, every meeting, it just amazes me how many facets of people's lives RDOT touches and continues to impact. And so just kudos to the department for everything you do for the citizens. Appreciate you. And appreciate the commission. It was a good meeting, a lot of good discussion. And if there's no other discussion, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.